Alright, what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Arena 2021 release mixdown project that was made available to the first 50 people who bought the Warriors sound kit. And this video is specifically for those who were not able to open up the project here. So now we are here looking at the project, and we're going to go over some structure. We're going to go over a little bit of the techniques that were employed here, and yeah, we're just going to dive in. So as you can see in the project here, there are two different structures. This is a one giant jumble of structure that I had going on here on the left side here, which is just ideas, different things. And then over here is the actual commercial release structure that is the one that you hear on all DSPs. So this is the one we're going to be focusing on here. We're going to listen to each group from, drums, bass, effects, all these different things soloed out by themselves, so you can hear what they're doing individually. And then when it comes back together as a whole, you have a greater understanding of how everything is playing off and with each other. So let's just refresh our minds here. I'm sure you know what the song sounds like, but here we go.
This is my weapon, and this is my game. When you come in my arena, prepare to get slain. This is my weapon, and this is my game. Don't you come in my arena, go back where you came. Arena. Go back where you came.
So that is Arena, to refresh your minds there. So now the basic structure that we have going on here is an 8-bar intro. That's here. 3, 4. Look, so counting the bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's 4 bars there. This is our 8-bar intro. And then it goes into 8-bar kind of, I call it like a mid-intro, sort of, catching your attention. And after that 8 bars, we're going into another 8-bar build up here, which goes into a 16-bar drop. So that's the basic structure that we have going on here. Before we dive in, it's important to kind of understand and really be able to kind of strike out and understand these structure points here. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. It depends on your personal creativity and taste and whatever you're trying to go for. But for this particular record, 8-bar intro, 8-bar mid intro, 8-bar build, 16-bar drop. And so let's go ahead and listen to some of these things here and see how these things are coming together and what elements exactly are in here. So these are the drums here. If we listen to our actual drums here that are going on here, we've got this Ducko kick. And on this kick, this is a very, I love this kick. I tuned the kick down. I transposed it down 6 semitones here. The original sample by itself, it just sounds like this at its original tune. Still very punchy with some of the processing that I stuck on it, but I pitched it down because I wanted it to have that grit. I wanted it to have that punch and belly to it. So down 6, now it's got that kind of low-end grit that you should be familiar with in our records here. And I kind of trimmed the kick here. It had a little bit of a tail. I wanted the punch of it only, and so I kind of just trimmed it there in the what is this? I guess this would be a simpler. Yeah, in the simpler here. And so made it as short as possible so it didn't interfere with any of our sub bass and 808 stuff. Utilities is what I use to modulate volume up and down, volume up, volume down, setting the volume, gain staging, stuff like that. So this represents my general volume. It's up 3 dB from whatever the original volume of the actual sample is. I've got it up a little bit, and then these different things. This red dot means this automation. So that means at different points this is turning on and off on where I set it. Now you'll be able to see this here where it's this groove is up here. That means it's on right here. So that's all that means, and that means that I've ducked the volume minus 1 dB in this area for whatever this section was. Is the first drop, and I needed it to be down. So this is just different points in time where I'm needing to modulate certain parameters. That's what the red dot means. Moving on to the kick here, we've got an EQ. It's low cutted at 31 hertz. That means this kick drum plays no frequencies below 31 hertz. That's where the cutoff is. I don't need any frequencies below that. I gave it a nice little boost here, 50.5 hertz, 2.85 dB gain here, boosting this frequency just to give it a little bit of that slam that you're kind of hearing there, that kind of oomph in the kick drum. And basically that's it. That's all I did. I didn't high cut anything. I just left it just like that. Moving on, we've got Rough Rider here. Rough Rider is a free compressor, sort of stereo compressor from Audio Damage. It's completely free. This is actually the first version. They've got a version 3 of it, and I actually I have it, but I'm just so used to, I know how this one works, and I bought the sensitivity. I don't even really know what all these things do. I know what they do, but it's one of those things where you play with knobs, and it's like, oh, this knob does this. This is what I like. So I got the sensitivity more on low and the makeup around here, which is the same thing that I do with another technique that I can show you. Using an Ableton device called the glue compressor. It's very, very, very similar in the techniques employed here. So if we throw on a glue compressor just for the sake of showing you, we can achieve the same effect by using the makeup gain here. And that's pretty much it. You're going to use the makeup gain. You leave the threshold at 0 dB. So without the Rough Rider and the glue compressor, leave the EQ the same, everything else, the kick drum sounds like this. So this is just how the sample just came, you know, if we pitched it back up and all that. So it's still pitched down, but now when you throw that Rough Rider on there, you see how fat and kind of wide the kick gets. Now it's slapping you in your face. We can achieve the same thing with the glue compressor, just hitting it like this. Go ahead and throw our makeup gain. Let's throw it at 5 dB. We're getting there, you see what I'm saying? You're going to achieve that effect sooner or later, and then you can play around with your attack and release and whatnot. We're getting there. So if we actually look at Rough Rider and say, what's our ratio? All right, we're right there down the middle. And it's the one thing about this is it's not really accurate in what it is. It's like either fast or slow, stuff like that. So we can kind of just go off of that, say, okay, this is a fast release time ratio. We're sitting somewhere around 2. It's like 1. I don't know. Something right there. We've got a fast kind of attack. And now let's play it and see. Okay, we're getting there. We're just going to need some more makeup gain. Throw it at 11 dB. And you're going to get there. So that's pretty close. So that's glue compressor. Now this is the Rough Rider. You know, we just have to boost the gain just a little bit more. But that's the basic technique of what's going on here. Very simple, very effective. Moving on here. The other samples in here. I'm using a drum rack to load all my samples into drum sounds into this drum rack here, so you can either play it on a drum pad with MIDI, or you can kind of program it in here. You know, boom, got a snare, got hi-hat, some hats, you know. Just random stuff, you know, and that's all the drums I needed. Let's not overthink anything. Just keep things relatively simple, you know. So that's what's going on here. Now we've got some Cashmere samples. We've got some nice reverb on it, EQ'd out, gave it some nice top end, and low cutted it at 39 hertz. And then it's dipped quite heavily, so that kind of low mid range is kind of out. And you see, without this reverb, it doesn't have a tail. And it just dies. You see, I wanted it that organic kind of feel to fill in that space. It makes it more cinematic. So, moving back into the group. We've got this build up.
It's my game when you come in my.
It's just this kick drum here. And it's got an auto filter on here, which is doing a sweep up, which is when it starts coming up in frequency and becomes clear. That's just basic automation using the frequency knob here and automating that up over time. Now, getting it to do this thing, it's just got kickstart on here to kind of tighten up this reverse kick. Then we've got a little bit of EQ. EQing is basically sculpting your sounds, reining in, attenuating, which is, controlling or boosting, a frequency to sculpt a sound to sit in the mix how you want it to sit in the mix. So EQ is an extremely important factor to getting a clean mix down. Moving into the group. Drums. Now, this drum sample here, I'm trying to hit all the major points so we're not going over every single tiny little thing here. This is the actual kick drum here. So the cool thing about the Ballad reverb and reverb in general in Ableton is you can kind of control the input processing here, what frequencies are affected by the reverb. So I didn't want any of that super high-end sheen top-end coming in here, so I kind of swooped it down like that. And then I didn't want that the lowest of low-end frequencies getting affected by the reverb either, because then we just have this muddy, spaced-out thing. I just needed this one specific area. And I wanted that, you see that? I wanted that to be affected the most, so I kind of found that on the frequency here, which is 495, and it's kind of boosted too. And I just kind of boosted that a little bit because I really like that frequency. And then I found that same frequency here on the input processing on the reverb, and I made sure to affect that with the reverb here, so that you're really getting that kind of, it makes the kick sound a lot bigger. Then we've got some reverb compressor. I use a compression sort of style to do side chaining here, and the side chain is just coming from this kick drum here, and it's at a ratio of minus 30 dB. So that means every time this kick hits, it's ducking this at a threshold of minus 30 dB, and a ratio of 2 to 1. Attack is pretty quick, and the release is decently quick. So it's in and out. So it's not sounding like it's ducking it super hard, but it's adding this nice punch layer to the entire mix. It just kind of makes it kind of sound a little more professional. See, without it, if it was just like this, it doesn't have that foundation that the kick drum adds. Very cool. Now, moving in, there's different layers in here. We've got this. Now, if you play these two together, it's just fill complementary items. It just kind of swoops in because it's just a reverse kick. Just like real quick. So when you play that all together, you're getting this. And then in the second half, we've got this kind of the cashmere drums again here, and they're just doing this. I pitched them to the left because you got to think about your mix down as it's a 3D stereo sphere. Where are things going to sit? They can sit to the left, they can sit to the right, they can sit up top, they can sit below, they can sit forward, they can sit backwards. These are the things you have to think about in your mix down. If you have everything playing down the middle, you're not going to have a lot of headroom. Everything's going to sound monophobic, and there's not going to be any depth to your record. So kind of getting this thing out of the way, because this kick drum that was the center of attention. This is a complementary accessory to the drum section here. So you can hear how this thing is panned over to the left. And it allows for the details in that percussion to stand out, because you can kind of hear that top end kind of roll of it. Very, very cool. So that's basically all there is on this sort of first drop. That's it, Moving into the vocals is just stuff that I record either on this microphone here or the actual recording mic, which is over here to the left. These vocals, this song was done so long ago, I didn't even have this set up back then when these vocals were recorded. And this will become apparent when we kind of listen to it.
This is my weapon, and this is my game. When you come in my arena, prepare to get slain.
So it's just two different channels.
This is my weapon, and this is my game. When you come in my arena.
Yeah. Very old.
This is my weapon, and this is my game. When you come in my arena,
So we've got that, and it's just basically these vocals are pitched down.
this is my weapon, and this is my game.
So that's pitched normally. It's still got a little bit of weird stuff going on due to, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the heck this actually is going on here.
This
Oh. So continuing on, you know, these vocals are pretty old here.
Is my weapon. Is my.
So basically what I would do back then, I would record these vocals and I would pitch them down, you know. I'd pitch them down and
Is my.
kind of create these kind of monster-y sort of things, trying to get this sort of cinematic feel. I've gotten much better at it now, but this was the basic technique back then. Not much processing, just, you know, boosting the volume up on whatever microphone I was using then, and had manipulator on there, which is, you know, manipulator is just a tool to, it's got a little bit of detuning, the stereo separation, and pitch stuff going on, which really doesn't do anything. But yeah, just to your own creative taste, and you know, you get these weird vocals. But you know, vocal work could be a whole other video. We're just kind of going over the kind of overview to see the workflow that's employed here. So moving into the second half of the first drop here, you've got this. You can hear these horns, you can hear these kind of screech shots and stuff like that. And it's just, let's open this up here. We've got this. Let's go ahead and solo each one. Play with his metronome. So nice little fade in screech shot. Then we've got the thing that sounds like it's a brass, but it's really this kind of synth stab. Now, how I'm doing these kind of reverse slides is I'm kind of just reversing. If you take a sample in Ableton, Command C, Command V, and then press R, it'll reverse the sample, so you're getting this straight, and then really quick, it turns into these kind of slides. And you can see, talking about that stereo depth and you know, getting this depth and feel within your mix, you know, this is panned 8 to the right, and this other one is panned 5 to the left. So everything is kind of out of the way of that kick drum once again. So if you listen to everything in the context of the mix, you hear that? There's not a lot of elements going on here at all. It's just creative use of samples, creative use of elements, and placement in the mix. So let's move into the break here. Let's refresh our minds here. It's just a nylon string guitar. So if we kind of dive into this sound here, you can see I wrote this. It's a nylon concerto guitar, and it just sounds like this. I just wrote this in MIDI, you know. I was just coming up with stuff, writing, and I just kind of came up with stuff and used pitch bend to kind of make it sound, because it sounds extremely authentic, you know. But I just wrote it in MIDI, you know. And I brought it in with this sweep in of frequency here using an auto filter reversed, so the filters come in smooth. Nice little EQ here, giving it some top end sheen, some mid-range dip, and a low cut at 40 hertz to kind of make sure the guitar stays as clean as possible. Playing on top, we've got this whistle cry, which is a bunch of contact freezes. You know, you get a lot of instances of contact in here, your computer's going to blow up. So it's a lot of freezes. This is just a whistle from some, you know, contact patch. And then I had a choir. Give it some modulation. Which is just making it move, because you can kind of hear, you hear the That ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Like if you listen for the ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba and see how it plays off of everything in the mix. It really brings the whole part together. Listen for it. It really just sounds good, and I did that because it sounded very weird when I was playing it without any movement at that particular point. Just creative direction, listening for the small nuances in the mix to kind of take things to the next level. It's the little things that add up to become the big things. Just a straight choir. And then you've just got this basic Reese bass. Now, moving into the melody structure here, this is the way I sort of do melodies, alright? I do it in layers. Everything I think of my melodies like a sandwich, and that, you know, you've got your lowest of elements. Or, I don't know how I did it here. Let's see. Alright, we've got our low elements here. We've got some plucks. We've got some leads. Plucks, leads, stuff like that. So basically this is the foundation. Now whenever I start writing off a melody, I'll use some sort of pluck. In this case I use this one here. It gives you a good way to just know what notes you're gonna play and how that plays off of everything else. Now you add in your next lead here. And then you add in the kind of character lead here, which gives the whole melody its character. This is, oh, I know that melody because of that lead, you know? Now you've got to add some rhythm with the use of pluck chord simulation here. And then you add that and mimic this chord structure here from the pluck with a bass line, and it sounds like this. Add in, now you add in a supplementary layer with another kind of lead and add some emotion in. And this is all done in Sylenth 1, you know? I've done all of these in Sylenth 1, just super simple. This is the arena top lead here. And these are things that are available in the kit, so now that you know what they are, at least you can use them and kind of go in and see how I used them here. And you go in and use them in your own kind of project. So that's how I did the melody here. And then in the background, we've got just, you know, the stuff that I was playing, the bass line, but in some more kind of cinematic stuff. Reese bass and a brass. Very cool. It just fills in that background that might, you know, make the mix sound empty without it. That's all. So, you know, I'm not gonna say super simple, but, you know, I'm not kind of overthinking everything. Then we've got some brass. You know, and then moving into the drums, just adding some motion, adding some energy, just some little shaker samples.
Welcome to the arena.
Moving into the hard trap drop here, we've just got this. Let's take a listen to it.
Come in my arena, go back where you came. On sound.
Arena.
So, let's listen to the drums by itself. Arena. Now you see why I wanted to have such a deep, gritty kick, because that kick starts to come through when you add that trap shit. You like that kick. You can feel that kick in your soul, and that's what we're looking for. How did I do that raw trap? Wom. This kick here. Just kickstart. Kickstart. Stick it on extreme short, 100%, and you're good. Low cut it. You know, don't want any low end. Just cut it at 160 hertz. Give it some top end sheen, and you're good to go. That's the sound. Super simple. Add it to the drums. Added some hi-hats just for flavor. super simple. Then we've got some just sample kick samples, and just different samples bought in and pitch bend, and it's creative stuff. It's stuff you throw on the timeline and you kind of play around with it. How do I want it to go? Bump on or bump on or whatever. You just knowing how to utilize this timeline here. This is your timeline. You got all your grid. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. All right, cut that cut one bar into half of one bar. Boom. 1 2 1 2. Cutting it deeper, and then you can kind of utilize these things and line things up on the grid based off of rhythm. This thing helps you visualize rhythm. That's what the grid is for. Visualizing rhythm, seeing structure. So that's the drum section. Moving to our 808s. Just an 808. One of my Titans, Giants. Now this 808 is actually doesn't have any high end. Like it does, but here it is without the high cut. You see, it has a lot more kind of harmonic distortion going on. I wanted to kind of rein that in and make it sound more subby. See, it sounds more subby now. Boosted it in its key frequency range, 38 hertz. In the key of E, by the way. Yeah, in the key of E, -5 dB there. Boosted it up with some sausage fattener and gave it a hard curve, which is what's giving it this really boosted kind of thing without this saturator. Look at that. Look how crazy that is. Because it's high cutted, remember? That's the original sub. Wow. Added in that saturation. Amazing sub now that you have there. And then a little bit of redux to add some digital distortion, digital grit, kind of like digital flavor. See that? With it. Oh, it was like really the cherry on top, really kind of brought the whole thing together. And then we've got our sidechain compression going on. Everything is being sidechained to that kick drum that we spoke about. And we're at a -30 dB there, 50, same it's the same exact thing right there, but you can hear it works really well. And it's really punchy when it all plays together. Very, very cool. Not overthinking it. Moving into the synth section. Sidechain. So these are all the elements. Body screech. Top screech. Then this weird kind of dub mid sound that's playing the mid range of everything. I don't even know what the fuck that sound is, but it just worked. And you don't even really hear this because you're so focused on the screeches. You don't ever even hear this. And you don't even know what it is. You're just really hearing the screeches, but it really kind of makes the sound what it is, because without it, listen. It really needs that kind of, because that's the foundation of the sound. So that's the drop. That's the drop, I mean, it's really, this drop is focused around drum work. You've got all this stuff going on. If I can't dance to it without, without everything else having nothing in there but just that, then that's how I know, all right, this is good to go. Like I can bop to this. I'm moving, it gets me moving, makes me want to dance, and there's nothing else in there. It's just that drums and that foundation and that low end, and that's basically the song, man. I mean, this is the overview. This is how I work. I've got my different sections, drums, bass, effects, and my updated kind of template of workflow is pretty much the same for the most part, with some slight differences as in this day and time frame and the timeline of things. But this is the good sort of insight here onto how I kind of get things done, and structure-wise. Yeah. I mean, I don't use this view at all. I mean, I might use it to write down some ideas and store the ideas, but all the structure stuff is done in this view. This is how I do things. So yeah, this is the Arena 2021 release mixdown project. I hope you found some sort of insight or some sort of, something. If you have any questions, just send me a message. Send me a message on Twitter. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm sort of using as my, you know, troubleshooting, as you would call it, customer service sort of deal. Because I don't really use Twitter that much. So when I go on there, I will see whatever you send. So yeah, if you have any questions or would like me to explain something, I can do so in a quick manner all over there. But yeah, I hope this was good, and till next time. Oh well, and if you would like to see more videos like this, I do videos like this monthly, multiple videos like this monthly on my Patreon in my Heart Academy tier. We've got 3 tiers of our Heart Academy tier: the basic Heart Academy tier, our Heart Academy Pro tier, and our Heart Academy Elite tier. The first tier gets access to all my production videos that I might do, and all the ones that I have done in the past that aren't available anywhere else. I always do a behind the track. All those behind the tracks, the newest ones on songs that have came out this year, they're all on Patreon. Moving into the pro tier, they get a 40-minute session with me a month, where we can go over tracks, and we can go get real in depth on certain techniques, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about. You don't even have to be a producer, really. You can just be a fan and be like, I want to talk to you for 40 minutes. Boom, let's do it. In the elite tier, I give out different samples and presets and stuff like that to get all the packs for free, stuff like that. Same sort of, they all get the 40-minute session, but they get different sounds from projects and different sounds that I'm making ahead of the public, and that aren't ever going to be available to the public. So yeah, I think it's a very beneficial thing if you are a producer. I think it's a very beneficial thing if you're just a fan who wants to connect on a deeper level. So yeah, check it out. That's patreon.com/litlords. Other than that though, I've been me, you've been you, and get producing. Boom.